Back to this tape in a minute, but they're talking about products, Mr. Producer, that pretty much, we're not talking about a massive new tariff that was placed on them under Trump, are we? I'm looking at steel and aluminum. Steel and aluminum. With Canada. Canada, the second biggest provider of steel to the United States. The first biggest provider of steel is American steel. The line was that the Chinese were dumping steel into our country. And then we find out that less than 5% of the steel we use in this country comes from China. 70% comes from American companies, and then number 2 is Canada. Will we support zero tariffs, zero subsidies on steel if Canada agrees to that? Because I thought the argument there was different, that we need to help protect and prop up our steel companies. So we have arguments all over the lot here. The Levin position is a simple position. It's the Adam Smith position, the Milton Friedman position, the Henry Hazlitt position, the Reagan position, which is, okay, lower tariffs, lower subsidies unilaterally, and watch the money flow into the United States. The imbalance of trade does not include that, does not count that. Same with services, doesn't count that. That's absurd. Absolutely absurd. The movement of money is just as relevant as the movement of products. The movement of products and services, one is indistinguishable from the other when you're looking at a balance sheet. And I don't even believe the balance sheet matters, as I've told you before. These are not government-to-government transactions. They're not country-to-country transactions. Individuals, and businesses, and other groups are involved in the transaction. So the measurement is bizarre. The measurement's bizarre. And if you wanted to really revolutionize our economy, the world economy, and have another industrial revolution, we would, with Congress, unilaterally slash tariffs and unilaterally slash subsidies. I think part of the problem we're going to have is members of Congress who've stuck a lot of these tariffs, a.k.a. taxes, into these various appropriation and budget bills that we're now stuck with. All right. We can talk about that if you'd like to call in. Michael Cohen has turned out to be quite the reprobate. And I'll tell you something that's hilarious. My buddy at Legal Insurrection has alerted me to this. Michael Cohen, of course, was taping Donald Trump on more than one occasion. The reports are 12 occasions. I don't know if that's true or not. Who knows? But it also turns out Michael Cohen taped Chris Cuomo of CNN, of the Cuomo Democrat Party, Chris Cuomo being among the dumbest. I used to say he's dumber than his governor brother, but I actually think the governor brother's dumber. Now, Chris Cuomo supposedly broke the big tape story. In other words, it was handed to him by Lanny Davis or somebody. But Michael Cohen secretly taped Cuomo. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, recorded a 2-hour conversation with CNN's Chris Cuomo about the alleged payment to porn star Stormy Daniels. Cohen told Cuomo that he, not Trump, handled the $130,000 payoff to Stormy Daniels. Here's what the Wall Street Journal says in part. In the nearly 2-hour conversation with CNN reporter Chris Cuomo, which the People said appears to have been surreptitiously recorded by Mr. Cohen, the former Trump lawyer discussed at length the payment he arranged in October 2016, a month before the presidential election, to Stephanie Clifford, known professionally as Stormy Daniels. I did it on my own, Cohen said of the payment, according to the people familiar with it. Oh. And of course it goes on. He was taped for 2 hours. Will Lanny Davis release that tape? Now, during the conversation with Cuomo, Mr. Cohen assured the reporter he wasn't running a tape. According to the people familiar with the matter, he told Mr. Cuomo he was placing the phone in his desk drawer and that the conversation was off the record. The phone appeared to record the entire conversation, the people said. It isn't clear whether Mr. Cohen makes any indication on the tape that he arranged the payment to Ms. Clifford in order to bolster Mr. Trump's campaign. If Mr. Cohen did pay Ms. Clifford to help the candidate's chances of being elected, he and the campaign may have violated campaign finance law. That is false. We will explain this again in a few minutes when Bradley Smith joins my program, former chairman of the Federal Election Commission. It is very troubling to me when we have these pseudo-reporters who don't know history, who don't know economics, and who don't know the truth continue to speculate and lie about these things. The fact of the matter is, it is not a violation of federal campaign laws, period, as again we will demonstrate. And very little talk about this man, Cohen, and whether or not he should still be a member of the bar. I really am not clear what the priority investigation is in the Southern District that was handed over from Mueller to the Southern District in New York. I thought it had to do with medallions and taxis. But I think Mr. Cohen is throwing a lot of stuff out there trying to divert attention from whatever he may have done. And when you hire a lawyer like Lanny Davis, who I consider to be unserious, I really do. But that's fine. When you hire a lawyer like Lanny Davis, who's not a criminal defense lawyer, he's a spin doctor. He's a lobbyist. He's had some civil cases, as best as I know. He can call in if I'm wrong. Then you're really not... that's what you're dealing with, that is. That is the PR side of this thing more than anything else. So this is another fake thing, like the Helsinki press conference. We're all supposed to chase that. There'll be another thing after this, I'm sure. It just never, ever ends. And by the way, as I was watching our great Secretary of State, outstanding Mike Pompeo, in front of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, I almost threw up on my sneakers. From the chairman, Bob Corker, Mr. Iran deal, to Menendez, I barely escaped imprisonment. To all the rest of it, it was disgusting. No Secretary of State has ever been treated this way. And Pompeo, by the way, he shined. This guy is smart, he's tough, and he's loyal. Number one, he graduated West Point. Harvard Law School on the law review, big deal. A combat veteran. Congressman, CIA director, Secretary of State. What a class act. And to be up there with a bunch of clowns was absolutely disgusting to watch. All right, we have to drill down into this ridiculous tape story. We'll get there. I'll be right back.